Hey guys, how's it going? Mr. Btw I here, and today I'm going to be doing my Q&A to kind of, I feel like you guys should know me a bit, should get to know me a bit better, and, since I've hit 1,000 subscribers, I feel, this is a sort of as a special kind of video for getting 1,000 subscribers. Without further ado, let's get to some of the questions that you guys asked me. So I'm going to be reading from the question that was asked first. So I will be reading usernames. I don't think that will be a problem for anyone, surely. So anyway, let's get started. So let's kick this off with a good friend of mine who submitted a question, Chris Oliver. He submitted 3 questions here. First question he kicks us off with is, what is your favourite Beatles song? Now, obviously, as you can tell by my YouTube name, obviously I'm a big fan of the Beatles. They're definitely my favourite all-time band. I just think that their music is amazing, and it's amazing how, different and sort of, all their songs how different and sort of unique how one band can produce such, unique and timeless tracks, So obviously I have heard pretty much every Beatles song that's been released on albums and whatnot. So I have managed to pick a favourite, and I'd have to go with, this song isn't actually that well known. It was the B-side to the Hey Jude single. So that's probably why it doesn't get as much kind of recognition. But it's called Revolution, which was written in 1968. It's got a really good kind of guitar riff, good sort of just, simple kind of beat from Ringo. But again, it's a really good song. If you don't know the song already, I'd recommend you check it out, because in my opinion, it's a really, really good track and very underrated, in my opinion. So, favourite Beatles song is Revolution. Next question is from him. What would you do if you got an RKO out of nowhere? Now, obviously, if I'm going to be a smart ass about it, I'd say, will I be knocked out? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say what I would do after I woke up from being unconscious from the RKO out of nowhere. So obviously, I would hunt the person down who RKO'd me out of nowhere. I would then RKO them out of nowhere. But I'm not done there, no. Now we wait for them to get up, we tune up the band a little bit, tune it up, and we hit them with the sweet chin music. Boom. But then we're not done there, no, we wait. We wait in the corner, we wait. We bounce, we kneel down, we bounce, and then we hit them with the spear. And that's what I would do if I got an RKO out of nowhere. And his final question, fittest diva in your opinion? Ooh, this one is very tough considering, especially since, 1998, 1997, the WWF/WWE have had some really, really, really good-looking, some really sexy divas, to put it that way. But I think I would have to go with Trish Stratus. I would say from the time period of 2000 to 2002, 2003. I think that was when I think she was really, really hot back then, and yeah, that was definitely, I would say, the peak of the well, especially 2000 was kind of the peak of the WWF. So yeah, I would go with Trish Stratus from 2000 to 2002. Alright, so another friend of mine has asked me some questions, Tom Foley. He first asks, what's the most awkward situation you have ever been in? Now, this one is, that's a good question, because it's such a simple one, but there's so many answers you could give. And most awkward situation I've been in. It's going to take quite a bit of thought. I'm just trying to think here. I'm just really trying to think here. Really think, because there's definitely some. I think I've got one. So when I was in school, I was talking to my friend who I can't remember why, but basically he said something and it really kind of like pissed me off, and I called him. I literally said like really loudly, like, and this was like in a crowd. This was in like a crowded room, sort of loads of people in it. And I called him. I basically said, I called him a fucking idiot. And basically, right behind me was one of the deputy heads of our school, and yeah, that was very, very awkward. Luckily, I didn't get in that much trouble for calling my friend a fucking idiot, but it was definitely very awkward because I didn't even realise he said it until he tapped me on the shoulder and looked at me very strangely. But yeah, that was definitely, I would say, probably the most awkward situation I've been in. His next question is, what would your dream tag team be? Now, this answer I guess is kind of cheating, but I'm going to still go for it anyway. I'm going to say Edge and Chris Jericho, simply because what happened was they did win the tag titles. They were kind of a surprise, announcement for the four-way. I think it was the Bash, the Bash 2009, which basically meant that they had a match. They won the tag titles, but then Edge got injured the night on Raw the next night. So basically, Edge was out for a while, so they never actually really kind of got to become a tag team. And I really would have liked to have seen how, what they would have been like as unified tag champions. So I think, I would say maybe my dream tag team, kind of tag team champions, because we never really got to see them as, how they would have been as tag team champions. So yeah, I'll go with Edge and Chris Jericho. So, and also, if you could live anywhere in the world, if you could live anywhere, where would it be and why? So yeah, anywhere in the world, basically. I would probably say, this is tough, because I would probably maybe say, I always quite like to live maybe somewhere in like America or Canada, just because I really, especially, I'd probably say New York in America, because I went there last year. I went there last April, during WrestleMania, actually, WrestleMania 30, but I didn't watch it. I missed it because I was busy doing stuff. But then, when I got back, literally as soon as I got back from New York, like, I invited my friends over and we all watched it. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, New York, I would say, is a place I'd really like to live, just because it's a really nice place. The city's there's always something going on, and there's some really nice restaurants. Hyde Park is amazing, and there's such great kind of culture and everything. And yeah, I'd have to say I'd love to live in New York. And his final question, who is your favourite player that didn't play for the Toon? Now this one is very tough for me, because there's a lot of great players that didn't play for Newcastle, because let's face it, Newcastle has never really... Newcastle have had some quality players over their history, but the majority of the world's top players have not played for Newcastle, so this is very tough. I'd probably have to say, and obviously this player was a great player in his peak, and I don't know if not many people would actually consider him the greatest of all time, but he's a player that I really respect, a player that I just think is a really kind of, he was always such a joy to watch in his prime. He always had a smile on his face when he played. He just seemed to love playing the game, and that is Ronaldinho. I really love Ronaldinho. I think back in the day, he was an amazing player, and I was fortunate enough to see him play at the Nou Camp for Barcelona. He was just amazing in that game. He was the world's best player at that time. This was like 2007. He was just an amazing player, and it was, honestly, in my opinion, it was an honour for me to watch him play live at the Nou Camp. So yeah, I'll go with Ronaldinho. So now the third user to submit The third user to submit me some questions is the voice of pro wrestling Y2J HBK. So his first question is, what would you say is the greatest WWE match of all time? Now that question's quite interestingly phrased, because it's the greatest match and my favourite match aren't actually the same thing. Well, because if you would say, I don't know, that's a great. I guess I'll probably just I don't know. In terms of, Oh, I don't know. This is a very tough question. I mean, I do have a favourite match of all time, but I don't know if I can. I mean, yeah, I'll say I'll just go with my favourite match in my opinion because I think it is great, one of the greatest to be honest. Now this may surprise a lot of people. I mean, this is a match that obviously people consider a 5-star classic. Like, it's not as if I've gone with some kind of not that well-known match, but it's a match that no one really ever kind of puts as their favourite match of all time. And for me, I just really love go back. I can literally watch that match hundreds and hundreds of times, and I'll still love it. You know, just the same. And that is the triple threat from WrestleMania 20. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Chris Benoit. I think this is just an awesome match. There was never a dull moment in that match. As soon as the bell rung, it was just action, action, action. Some really good stuff. The tension was amazing as well. There were times where you thought each competitor had it. And when Benoit puts Triple H in the crossface, Triple H is in there for, it seems like, you know, it seems for, you know, he's in there for minutes and minutes and minutes, and you think he's going to get the ropes, and then Benoit rolls him over and, like, drags him back to the centre, and then he's still holding on, and then he taps, and it's just a great match, in my opinion. Great storytelling, just great in-ring action, just great everything, in my opinion. And then his second question is, are you a Cena fan? Simply, no. I think his character is stale, it's boring, it's been the same for almost 10 years, pretty much. This is not a kind of shot at Cena the guy, because Cena the guy, I think, is a very likable guy. He does a lot, you know, in terms of like the Make-A-Wish stuff. I'm talking about Cena primarily as the wrestler, the character. I really don't like his character. I think it's, as I said, stale, boring, corny, and he shows no sort of human emotions. He's always that kind of good guy who has to do good. He never, you know, does anything to kind of bend the rules or sort of show any sort of emotion. So yeah, I would say probably that, in my opinion. Are you disappointed over the Stardust Goldust feud and match? Yes, very disappointed. I mean, at first with the match, I wasn't disappointed because I thought, oh, this is just, you know, this is sort of the start for them, you know, which will lead to a match at WrestleMania. And now that Stardust has been added into the IC title match, and that Goldust isn't even on the card, yeah, I'm very disappointed because I thought they were actually going to lead this into a sort of, you know, Cody Rhodes Goldust match at WrestleMania that really people have been wanting to see for years now. And I think these guys are putting on an awesome match, and I think that's why I was at first not disappointed by their Fastlane match, because you know, I thought they were just kind of not giving their best because they were going to have the Mania match, but then they didn't even have the Mania match. So again, it was just a very disappointing feud and match in general. Favorite WCW matches. One that really stands out to me, in my opinion, is sort of Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc. I think that's a really good match. I think that's just the epitome of WCW's cruiserweight division at the time. It's a really good match. So yeah, I'd probably say that one. Most overrated WrestleMania matches of all time. Oof, this is going to be very controversial. I can see people getting, getting their fingers ready to type on the keyboards. So I might as well. I'm going to be honest here. I'm not going to, say it's to be cool or whatever. I'm just going to say what I think. So this is going to piss off a lot of people from the start, but WrestleMania 3, Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat. Yeah. I know. I'm the worst human being alive. I should be burnt. I should have my balls cut off. The lot. I should. Okay. I think the reason why I find it so overrated is because before I even saw the match, people were always telling me, oh, it's the greatest match of all time. It's amazing. It's a 5-star classic. And then I go and watch it, and then I think, that was a really great match, but I never really saw it as a 5-star match. And again, I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for that, because people are going to be like, oh, it's it's a, you know, wrestling masterpiece and all that, and, you know, all that jazz. But I just, don't get me wrong, it's, before people start thinking that I'm hating on this match, I don't hate this match. I think it's a very good match. It's one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, but in my opinion, it's just not a 5-star matchup. It's as close as to 5 stars you'll ever get, but for me, it's just not 5 stars. I think it's just, literally just outside, and yeah, that's gonna piss a lot of people off. So, the next match I would say is overrated, and again, people are gonna get pissed off. WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, the Iron Man match. And again, this match isn't bad. I like this match, but I just don't think it's a 5-star match, because simply, if I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't enjoy the entire match, because a lot of it was sort of rest holds, and, you know, I get it, okay? They had to kind of condition themselves so they could do the last 15 minutes, you know, but it just wasn't enjoyable to watch, in my opinion. And I think there are better Iron Man matches out there, in my opinion, to watch than Bret and Shawn. It's a great match. Again, it's one of the greatest Mania matches of all time, but I just don't see it as a 5-star classic. I see it as a sort of just outside of 5 stars. So yeah, that's another match. I'm just trying to think, are there any other matches I really sort of think were overrated by people? Not particularly. I'm just trying to think very quickly. No, I think, yeah, I would say that's about it. Yeah, in terms of WrestleMania matches, yeah, no, that's about it. So yeah, that's going to piss a lot of people off. But and next question is your favourite NXT matches. Now, I haven't seen, obviously, every NXT match. There's some matches I obviously haven't seen. But I think matches that really stand out to me is Neville and Zayn at our Evolution. Brilliant match, just really good drama, storytelling. You know, if you haven't seen that match, go and see it. It's a really good match. And Finn Balor versus Adrian Neville at the most recent special at NXT TakeOver Rival. That is a brilliant match. So many brilliant near falls. Just a quality match to go and watch. Zayn and Owens again from NXT Rival. Another brilliant match. I'm trying to think also what else. Cesaro and Zayn from NXT. Is it NXT Arrival? I think it's NXT Arrival. Yeah, I think it's NXT Arrival. It's either NXT Arrival or NXT TakeOver. That's a brilliant match as well. Yeah, those are the ones that stand out to me in terms of NXT matches. Yeah, that's about it. And then, did anyone inspire you to start making YouTube videos? Not really. I mean, no, not really. I mean, there wasn't sort of one specific YouTuber. No, not really, if I'm going to be honest with you, to be honest. So, the next user to ask me some questions is Lundrick. And he asks, he says, pick a dream all-time at Newcastle 11. So, I've already got this up on a Word document just because I knew I wouldn't remember it completely. So I've decided to do a starting 11 and do a substitute bench with manager, and I've also got a dream manager in there as well. So I've gone with a 4-4-2 formation, just a simple 1 goalkeeper, 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, 2 up front. So in goal we've gone for Shay Given, and then right back we've gone for Warren Barton, and then the centre backs are Jonathan Woodgate and Philippe Albert, Jose Enrique at left back, and then Norberto Solano at right midfield, Cabaye and Paul Gascoigne as central midfielders, David Ginola as the left midfielder, and then the 2 strikers, Alan Shearer, Jackie Milburn. And then on the substitute bench we have Andy Cole, Peter Beardsley, Rob Lee, Fabrizio Colaccini, Tim Krul, Les Ferdinand and Gary Speed. And then as the manager, I decided to go with Kevin Keegan. So that's my Newcastle all-time 11. Favourite WrestleMania of all time and why? There are 2 WrestleManias for me that really stand out as the 2 great manias. That's obviously 17 and 19. I think me personally, I prefer 19 simply because I just think the match quality was slightly better. In terms of mainly also there was less crap on 19, whereas with 17 you had the bad women's match and gimmick battle royal, whereas with 19 I'd say the worst match is that the Undertaker versus A-Train and Big Show, which actually wasn't as bad as a lot of people say. Also WrestleMania 19 has some great matches. You got Michaels and Jericho, Lesnar and Angle, Vince and Hogan, Triple H and Booker T, Rock and Austin, the triple threat tag title match. Yeah, I would say WrestleMania 19 is my favourite Mania of all time. Favourite match ever and why? It's, like I said, the triple threat from WrestleMania 20, just brilliant back and forth action from all three guys, and a really nice finish and moment that unfortunately we will never really see on WWE television again, unfortunately, which is a real shame. And then the top five dream matches. So this is sort of off the top of my head. Austin and Hogan, I would say, would be a dream match. Bret Hart and Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit and Daniel Bryan, Shawn Michaels and The Rock, and I would probably go with the last one is a bit of a tougher one. I'd maybe go with Punk and Stone Cold. Yeah, I think those would be my top 5 dream matches. And now onto the final user here, Nature Boy 818. Favorite wrestler of all time and why? Favorite wrestler of all time is Edge. Literally, in my opinion, he was one of the hardest working guys in the WWE. He had some really memorable matches and feuds, even before he became a singles guy. He had some great tag matches with Christian. He's the guy that also has always been there, since the Attitude Era all the way up to the PG era. And he's a guy that I've just really enjoyed, watching, and he's also just genuinely a nice guy as well. And Edge is just everything about Edge I just like. I like his entrance, I like his character, I like his in-ring work. Everything. There's nothing wrong with Edge in my opinion. I think that's why Edge is probably my favorite wrestler of all time. Favorite match, we've gone through that, the triple threat from WrestleMania 20. Opinions on the PG era from 2008 to present. 2008, in my opinion, wasn't a bad year. I think there were some good rivalries in there. Obviously, late 2008, you had the ending of the Shawn Michaels Jericho feud. But yeah, towards the end of 2008, it did get a bit it wasn't as great. I think Jeff Hardy winning the title was a good moment towards the end of 2008, but you could really sense that there was kind of a change. And then 2009 started off okay. I thought the build up to WrestleMania 25 was pretty decent. I thought, especially to Triple H Randy Orton, I thought that was a good build up, and Shawn Michaels Undertaker. And then 2009 I think is not as bad of a year as people say it is. I think there's some good feuds in there, like Shawn Michaels Undertaker, Triple H Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk, DX versus Legacy. Again, that was more kind of towards the start and middle of the year. Towards the end of 2009, it did start to get a bit again stale. 2010 was a pretty awful year. Apart from the build-up to Mania, to be honest, the rest of 2010 was pretty forgettable. Especially that horrible SummerSlam in 2010. That really stands out to me as just an awful show. 2011 again was definitely the best year of the PG era. I think obviously the build-up to Mania was okay, and the Mania was disappointing. But the spring and summer were very enjoyable with the whole CM Punk angle. That was very enjoyable. And then, CM Punk winning the title, CM Punk as champion in 2011 was pretty good as well. I mean, after he won the title from Del Rio. So yeah, 2011 was good. I'd say it had its faults, but I'd definitely say it was the best year of the PG era. 2012 had its moments as well. Like you had the Bryan Punk feud, Triple H and Undertaker, but again, it just sort of there was some very forgettable stuff as well. Like I think Triple H and Brock Lesnar had a pretty underwhelming feud in 2012. I thought, yeah, I don't know. 2012 had its highs and lows. The debut of the Shield was good as well. But yeah, 2012 wasn't a year that I kind of remember a lot of stuff from, in my opinion. 2013 was an interesting year as well. I think it started off pretty meh. It was a pretty meh start. Mania was okay. It was solid. It wasn't outstanding. But then the build up from, I would say, Payback to SummerSlam was brilliant. It was brilliant build up, brilliant consistent pay-per-views, and then the night after SummerSlam, it really just kind of changed, and the WWE just went to shit, and it really wasn't interesting. Night of Champions was pretty underwhelming. Hell in the Cell was again underwhelming. Survivor Series was shit, and TLC was pretty underwhelming too. It just 2013 had a great potential, especially since the build-up, especially since the spring and summer were so good. It just fell flat after that, really. 2014 was a very eventful year. The pay-per-view quality was pretty solid, but I mean, a lot of the Raws were very shit. I just thought they were very tough to sit through. So yeah, that's pretty much my opinions on the PG year. What was the year and time you became a wrestling fan? Now, this will surprise a lot of people, because I actually haven't been a wrestling fan for as long as people probably think. I've only actually been a wrestling fan since 2011. I know that's very surprising, but yeah, it was literally just before the Summer of Punk angle I came into wrestling, and it was because of the video games. Actually, me and my mate played them, and I decided, hey, I'll check out what WWE's like in real life, and yeah, I just sort of seemed interested, and not long after I got into wrestling, I actually started looking at it on the internet and stuff, and that's how I kind of became an IWC member and YWC member, I guess, because I'm one of those people where if I find something I like, I'll do lots of research on it and stuff, and that's how I've become, I've become such a kind of, to gain a lot of knowledge on wrestling. So yeah, 2011. Top 10 wrestling moments of all time. This is in sort of no particular order because it was kind of hard for me to rank. So I'm going to go with Edge's New Year Revolution cash-in where he won the WWE title. Also when he won Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 21. Shawn Michaels' title win at WrestleMania 12. His return in 2002 to beat Triple H. Shawn Michaels winning the world title at at Survivor Series 2002. What else? And then we got Benoit winning the world title at 20. Eddie winning the title at No Way Out 2004. Austin winning the title at WrestleMania 14 to kind of start the Attitude Era. Hogan slamming Andre, because that really kind of cemented WrestleMania as we know it now today, so I'd have to say that. And finally, this is a tough one. That's 10th. I'm trying to think of a final one. Maybe it would have to be... tough. This is very tough. I just can't think of a final one. I'm trying to think. Maybe. Oh god, I'm really stuck with the last one. I genuinely can't think of a final one. God, this is tough. I can't think of a final one. I guess I'll put in Daniel Bryan's title win at Mania 30, I guess. Your opinions on wrestling in the 80s? I think wrestling in the 80s was, obviously it was very popular, I think. There was, I feel it was, at that time wrestling in the 80s was sort of, it's very different now, obviously. I think I kind of like the kind of larger-than-life characters that the WWF sort of portrayed. They were more sort of about kind of storytelling than they were about in-ring quality, whereas I always kind of got from the NWA. That was more sort of about, they focused more on sort of in-ring action. Again, this is my opinion, so this may not even be right, but that's the way I always kind of saw wrestling in the 80s. But the WWF put some great matches in the 80s, but I always thought it was more, they always seemed to put more on sort of the storylines and everything, whereas the AWA sort of, the AWA always kind of focused more on the in-ring aspect, so yeah, that's the way I've always seen it. Wrestling in the 90s, what's your opinion? Wrestling in the 90s is an interesting topic, because it was a very eventful decade. I'd say 1990 to kind of 1994 was okay. Yeah, maybe 93. It was especially for the WWF, it was okay. There's some good stuff in there. Obviously, Hogan leaving didn't really help the WWF, and it really benefited WCW. Hogan went over there, had some matches with Flair and all that, and then obviously had that awful WWF period of 1995, which is just awful. Terrible gimmicks, terrible everything, pretty much. Mania that year was awful as well. I think that WrestleMania really sums up 1995 in WWF. Meanwhile, WCW was sort of thriving. And then obviously in 1996 they bring in the NWO, and that really changes things. But 1996 in the WWF was pretty good as well, actually. They had, in terms of match quality, there was some good feuds in there. Michaels had some great title defenses. So yeah, 1996 I think is a pretty underrated year. And then 97, WWF really step up the game. Both companies very hot at this time. And then obviously in 98 you got the boom period where the WWF really starts to kind of show their dominance. And then by 99, WCW are practically, pretty much are significantly behind the WWF. And then, so then we get into the next question about the 2000s. Wrestling in the 2000s I think was a great time, much like the late 90s. I think 2000 is probably the peak of wrestling, in my opinion. I think there's some great stuff on there. Even though 2001 had an awful invasion angle, the match quality was always very good. 2002 is another great year that I always enjoyed, just in terms of the talent and storylines and in-ring quality. 2003 had a great year for SmackDown. Wrestling in the 2000s I think was very good until sort of late 2008, when it really started to take a dive. And the PG era kicked in, and it just really killed a lot of wrestling. Just kind of killed wrestling, in my opinion. And then the 2010s has been pretty underwhelming, aside from 2011, really. I mean, it's been, the 2010s has been a pretty underwhelming decade thus far. That's my opinion on wrestling in those decades. And then top 5 wrestling companies of all time. It's tough for me to think about, just because I can name more than 5 wrestling companies, but a lot of them again, there are some companies that I know, but I don't really watch them, like for example Ring of Honor and stuff like that. And I mean, I've definitely said I've watched 4 wrestling companies, but I've definitely I'd say WWE, WCW, ECW. Again, I can't make a top 5 because I did watch TNA, but it was at a time when it was pretty awful. So I'm not gonna say TNA. And again, I don't really watch ROH, so I can't really make a top 5. I can make a top 3. So yeah, WWE, WCW, ECW. Yeah, and then 10 favourite years in wrestling. Because my knowledge isn't so great on wrestling, kind of beyond, like, kind of before 95. I've done a kind of top 10. Well, I've done a top 5 between from 1995 to present. And this, again, this is my opinion. This is not, you know. So I've decided number 5 is 2005. I think that was a great year for great storylines, great development, great builds of characters like Cena and Batista. Some really awesome matches that year as well. And then 1997, again another great year, some great rivalries, some great matches. Again, good foundations for the Attitude Era that was to come. And then 1998, obviously in the heart of the Attitude Era, some great sort of rivalries and stuff. And Austin McMahon feud and everything. 1998 was a brilliant year as well for the younger guys like Rock and Triple H, putting on some great matches as well. And then number 2, I've gone for 2002, just some really awesome in-ring stuff. I think 2002 is definitely an amazing year for in-ring quality alone, and some solid storylines to top it as well, especially on the SmackDown side. Number 1 is 2000. I think there was some awesome feuds, matches. Everything was just amazing at this time. You had an incredible roster as well. There was something for everyone in the year 2000 in terms of wrestling fans. So yeah, that's my top 5 years. Well, top 5 years. I couldn't really do a top 10 from kind of 95 to 20 to present. So yeah, and the final and that's the final question. Yep, that was the final question. That kind of ended anticlimactically. But yeah, there's I just want to thank everyone for submitting all their questions, and thank everyone for 1K subscribers. I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. It's very long, so if you do watch this, you might want to sort of, you know, have some food, you know, get some food and whatnot, and you know, do that. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe for more content.